Today, I'm going to be telling you guys which snapback hats to buy out there for big money to resell on eBay. So stick around. Welcome back, guys. It's Phil, the king of Thrift. Thanks for tuning in for another video. If this is your first time here and you want to learn how to work from home and be your own boss, buying and reselling things just like snapback hats on eBay, then go ahead and subscribe to this channel right now. And don't forget to hit the little bell right next to it so you don't miss any of my latest videos. Now let's get into the topic today, guys. Which snapbacks are the best ones to make that big money on eBay? Well, I'm glad you asked. We're going to be covering quite a few hats today, so stick around and make sure you watch to the end so you don't miss some of these killer hats. All right, guys, now if you'll notice here, what we have is a Pepsi Cola snapback original old school trucker's hat. Now this hat is straight from the 80s. Now one thing that you're going to notice is first off, that old school writing right off the bat. But another thing you really notice are those stripes across the sides of the hat. There's 3 stripes, and as you can see, you got red, white, and blue, classic all-American color pattern going on. Now if you look at the bill there, you'll notice how it has those sort of ridges in it. That's and as a matter of fact, the whole hat is basically has those little tiny ridges. Now that's that old school. I want to say polyester, but it's not a. It probably is a polyester, but I mean, it feels sort of soft and plasticky. You know. Now, if you look on the inside here, you're going to see that classic foam inner lining. Now you can see how it's all basically destroyed. Now that's what happens to it over time. The liners inside these get dry rotted and they start to crumble basically, and they begin to flake out like this one has already done. But that's what happens with age, and as you can see, this hat is really old and it's in pretty bad shape as far as that foam lining goes, but still got you know, over $300 or right at $300 for this hat. So you know, you want to keep your eye out for Pepsi. Now you can see here's another one, Pepsi, the choice of a new generation. Also really old school hat, straight from the 80s, definitely. It's a little bit newer than the last one, but you can see again it does have those old school 3 stripes on the side and that classic red, white, and blue color pattern. Here's another one just like you know, the first one we looked at. You can see this one here went for over $300, and it's from Redding, California, and it is in that old school, you know, Pepsi Cola writing. So keep your eyes out, guys. Those Pepsi Cola hats are on fire right now, and I'm not sure exactly why the Pepsi Cola. Go ahead and look here, guys. Now you see inside the hat, it shows you know, that it is made in the USA. Now all of these old hats like this are going to be made in the USA. So that's the first thing you're gonna look for. That way, what that's gonna pretty much do is authenticate the fact that you're not looking at a reproduction hat. You are looking at an original 80s or 90s. Actually, when you see hats that look like this, you are actually looking at a 70s, 80s hat. By the 90s, they had already changed. You could still get some, you know, old school hats like this, but they didn't look like this. They had already changed. Those stripes were long gone, and you know, the overall feel and look of the hats changed dramatically. So, like I said, go ahead and, you know, flip the hat to the inside. Look for that classic made in the USA tag, as you can see there, and that is going to authenticate the fact that it is old school. This one here, this one is actually you know, solid blue. Still got those 3 stripes on the side. Again, you know, classic straight from the 80s, and you can see this one here went for $255. And if we flip it over and look on the inside, bam, you're also going to see that old school American flag, made in the USA, baby. So you know, if it says made in the USA, it is old school, because as we all know, things are not made, unfortunately, in the USA anymore. But keep your eye out for those old school Pepsi hats. Not so much the Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper, although those hats do sell well. They do not sell as good as the Pepsi hats. I think it's maybe because the teenagers and more of the younger generation actually prefer Pepsi for one reason or another. So that's going to be one of the best hats that you're going to buy in the old school snapbacks. Pepsi, guys. Even the newer ones. Now this one is Crystal Pepsi, and this is from the 90s, the very late 80s, early 90s. Crystal Pepsi, as you can see, that one for $300, even though it's a newer style. And again, we have an older Pepsi hat here for $125, but this is a little bit newer also. Now on that note, even of course Mountain Dew, guys, any of the Mountain Dew hats are going to sell, and that is because, you know, the kids love Mountain Dew. They love that Monster Energy drink or anything like that. So keep your eye out for Mountain Dew hats as well, guys. Now, next on the countdown, the hottest hats to sell from the 80s and 90s snapbacks old school is going to be one of the tops, best of the best, is going to be Levi's denim hats. That's right, guys. Levi Strauss & Company, as you can see here, $300 for this classic Levi's hat with the old school leather logo across the front. It even comes with the little tab, with the orange tab, as you can see on this one here. Just a little bit different color there, as you can see, but also classic nonetheless. So look for those Levi's hats, guys. Those things are on fire right now. Old school snapback Levi's denims. Now they don't even have to be denim. As you can see here, we have a khaki denim. It is denim, but it's a khaki tan in color, and you can see $150 with no problem. And that one's actually a little bit dirty, but it's got that old school logo on the top. That's what you're looking for in these Levi's hats, guys. We're gonna go ahead and run one more through here so you can see it. Here's another one for $146. And you know, you're looking for that little Levi's tab on the front and that classic leather Levi's logo emblem, you know, with the two horses pulling the pants on the back there. So keep your eye out for Levi's, guys. That's gonna be big money in your pocket. Now, next on the countdown, we have now, you can see here, this is a Ford hat, and it's a tractor equipment. Now, the tractor equipment hats are going to be, you know, anything that's as far as made by old school tractor companies, denim, you know, in the way of denim, is going to be money right now. The next on the countdown, as far as which hats to look for, I'm going to recommend almost every snapback denim hat out there. Now, that's not to say any denim hat that you find is going to be money, but as you can see here, we have a Denim World Wrestling Federation, WWF, guys. Now, on that note, the WWF hats are hot. I only included one on this video, but if you can, and that's actually because they're pretty rare, but if you can find them out there, if you can find old school snapback WWF hats, you want to grab them every time, guys. Those are going to be money in your pocket. If you can pick one up for $1 or $2, that's going to be all the better. It's going to get you no less than, I would say, around 50 to, I mean, as you can see there, you know, $100, $150 or upwards of that. So keep your eye out for those old school WWFs, and on top of that, the denims are even better. Here we have a Harley Davidson in the denim colorway, also in that pattern, and next on the countdown, I would say the Harley Davidson hats, guys. Keep your eye out for those. You know, those are money right now. Now, the one thing that I can tell you with the Harley Davidson hats is you don't find a lot of them out there. They are few and far between, and they didn't really make a whole lot during that time, I believe. Most of the Harley Davidson hats that you're going to find now are going to be pretty much the 90s and up. Maybe you might get some in the late 80s, and very, very few maybe the late 70s and early 80s in that period. But if you can find a Harley Davidson hat 9 times out of 10, that is going to be a score, I would say no less than $50. So keep your eye out for those, guys. All right, guys, continuing on that denim and blue jean denim type material. This is actually a little bit older denim, as you can see, but nonetheless $113, and this hat is in terrible condition. On top of that, it is Caterpillar. Here's another one made by Mack Trucks. And again, this is in that denim. You know, they can't get enough of that denim. So that's what I'm going through here, guys, just to show you a few more of these denims. As you can see, this one here went for $96, right at $100. And it is Mack Trucks, which is also very desirable. And I will be getting in a little more of those later on in this video. But right now, I just want to go through some of these denims so that you can have a look and see how hot that they really are. Here's another one by Mack Truck. You got that cool red, white, and blue American flag color pattern going on with the bulldog there, and again with that denim snapback trucker hat, $61 all day. All right, guys. Now, next on the countdown of the hottest hats to sell, what I'm going to recommend are what I like to call mechanics hats, and these are hats that are worn by mechanics. You know, are actually what mechanics would have worn back in the day, you know, in old school. As you can see there, we have a Goodyear, commercial tire service hat, which the tire guy would have worn. Here we have vice grips, which is basically tools, pliers. There's a tool company. Also, again, a mechanic would have worn back in the day. They probably, what they used to get these, this would be the swag that mechanics would get back in the day, and they would wear them around. Plus, not to mention, they thought they were cool, and now everyone thinks they're cool. Here we have a Ford New Holland. Now, New Holland, I believe they make tractors and tractor supply. This is sort of a farmer's hat, but again, I would categorize it as a mechanic or a farmer's type hat. And I'm going to get into a little more as far as farmer's hats, because those are also hot right now, guys, what I like to call farmer's hats. Here's another one, the classic Ford, the mechanic would have worn. It's got the phone number to the mechanic shop, probably worked for the dealership. And again, Ford, as you can see, these hats are hot. They're going for big money, guys. These Ford Tractor Supply, Ford mechanic type hats, they are on fire, guys. So if you see them, you want to grab anything that a mechanic would have worn back in the day. All right, we're just going to finish it up with one more. Now, this is straight from H-Town, guys. This is Ford again, Ford Lincoln Mercury, Ramines. So that's an ugly color, but still hot nonetheless, guys. $48. I definitely wouldn't turn that down for $1 or $2. Now, here is what I like to call, what we're getting into now is going to be, let's do one more here. This is a Mack truck hat, and as you can see, it's got the little scrambled eggs going on the front there. Now, that is the gold leaf that you see on the front. That is known as scrambled eggs. And also, if you'll notice, this hat is a solid mesh hat. It has, in other words, it's mesh all over. It has no solid, lining anywhere, and that's a full mesh hat. And if you can find those are pretty desirable as well. So keep your eye out for these old school mechanics hat, guys. Okay, the next hat to look for to put some big money in your pocket is going to be racing hats. Old school racing hats, or NASCAR type hats. Not necessarily the newer NASCARs, but the older racing hats, and the older the better. So if you see these sponsored hats, there's a racer on that one. Here's one with the Woody Woodpecker, $50. The other one for $50. Two hats for $100. I'll take that all day. This is Honda Racing. Honda Racing is really good hat to look for. Yamaha Racing again, but pretty much any of the hats that are racing, as you can see there, Team Yamaha, again, $50 straight from the 80s. Snapback, old school mesh hat, and that one looks like that the inner lining is pretty well done for. As you can see, it's all crinkled in, but it doesn't matter. The condition's still very desirable. Here we have a Pepsi and a racing hat, so that makes it double desirable. So keep your eye out for those old racing hats, because those are definitely money in your pocket. $50 for that one, and it's even got that Kroger on the front. Here's a really nice one, $125, Harry Grant Racing, and on top of that, it's Skull, which is tobacco, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later in this video. Is the tobacco hats, guys. But here is a Richard Petty STP motor oil, I believe that is, and as you can see, that one is really clean, and that one went for $168, and that's a really old one. As you can see, it does have those classic 3 stripes that you always want to look for. That's going to indicate straight from the 70s, early 80s. Okay, one more, guys. Another racing hat with the stripes on it, and you can see that is Dale Earnhardt, the one and only, guys, and that's Goodrich, also mechanic. So not only do we have a racing hat, but also a mechanic's hat. And anytime you can crossbreed these hats. In other words, you can get a mechanic's hat and a racing hat. Then what would make it even better than that? Can you guess, guys? If it was denim. Exactly. So the more of these desirable elements that you can put together in a hat, the better the hat's going to sell. And on that note, as you can see, what we have here at Kodiak, they actually made snuff, or smokeless tobacco, back in the day it was called, and it's also a racing hat. So you've got a cross between racing and tobacco, which brings me to the next category that you want to look for, are tobacco hats, old school tobacco. And one of the most desirable in that category is going to be Levi Garrett. And I believe it was a chewing tobacco or some sort of snuff, or like Skull or something like that. But those hats are hot. Those old school tobacco hats, Red Man, and those type of hats. Now here we have Cat diesel power. Again, we are into these, these old school diesels and tractors and what I like to call farmers or redneck hats, guys. That is a category that you want to be on the lookout for, what I like to call redneck hats. And I mean, they're just really hot, old school camouflage. As you can see here, we have a Red Wing shoes. Hats, that's, back in the day I call them redneck hats because that's the only people who used to wear them back in the day. And now they're hot, and people want them. Again, here we have another Levi Garrett, tobacco snapback. And this one, as you can see, upward over $100. So keep your eye out for any of those old hats that look like, redneck or farmer might wear them, hillbilly, whatever you might want to call them. But I am from Texas, so we find a lot of those out here, and I do got that red blood, so it makes it easy for me to actually spot them. And on top of that, guys, my uncles and my grandpas and granddads used to wear these kind of hats back in the day. So if I could go back and get all those old hats they used to wear, man, that would be a small fortune. But that is going to be the last hat, the last of the hats to be on the lookout for. Those old school, Tractor Supply. Like I said, anything a farmer or a redneck would wear, guys. You can see here's $150. These things are going to be money all day. And as you can see, that is a full mesh John Deere hat, which is classic, all-American, farmer's hat. So keep your eye out for those old school farmers and redneck hats, guys, or else you're going to miss that money. And you don't want to do that while you're out there. You want to make your trips count, and this is just one more category that you don't want to pass over, that you can pick up some extra cash. And even if it's not your area of expertise, hey, at least now you got a little something more in your arsenal to help you make a little more money while you're out there. Don't pass up the hats, guys. I have tons of videos on how you can make money on eBay. I also have a lot of other videos as far as specifically what to sell on eBay, how to find your niche, anything you can imagine, all sorts of tips and tricks. And also there is actually another snapback video where I'm actually going through some old school snapbacks of my personal collection. And also there is an upcoming video, guys, and you definitely do not want to miss it. And I'm going to be going through some old school snapbacks that have been in my collection for more than 10 years. And these hats are fire, guys. When you see these things, I mean, these things are just so awesome. So make sure you watch out for that upcoming video. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, guys. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to this channel right now if you want to learn how to work from home and be your own boss, buying and reselling on eBay. Thanks for watching, guys. And until my next video, you guys be good. Get out there and make that money on eBay.